माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन 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 यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 जय राधा मदन मोहन राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय 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 प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णवृंद की वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यो च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। We are reading today from the Srimad Bhagavatam. A very interesting part of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the fifth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are on chapter 13, and we're going to read verse 8. So 5, 13, 8. 5, 13, 8 is our verse for today. Chalan kvachit kantaka sharkarangrir nagarurukshur vimana ivaste पदे पदे अभ्यन्तरवह्निनार्दितः कौटुम्बिकः क्रुध्यति वै जनाय। चलन् क्वचित् कण्टकशर्कराङ्घ्रिर्नगारुरुक्षुर्विमना इवास्ते पदे पदे अभ्यन्तरवह्निनार्दितः कौटुम्बिकः क्रुध्यति वै जनाय। चलन् क्वचति कण्टकशर्कराङ्घ्रिर्नगारुरुक्षुर्विमना इवास्ते पदे पदे अभ्यन्तरवह्निनार्दितः कौटुम्बिकः क्रुध्यति वै जनाय। Please chant. चलन् क्वचित् कण्टकशर्कराङ्घ्रिर्नगारुरुक्षुर्विमना इवास्ते पदे पदे अभ्यन्तरवह्निनार्दितः कौटुम्बिकः क्रुध्यति वै जनाय। चलन् क्वचित् कण्टकशर्कराङ्घ्रिर्नगारुरुक्षुर्विमना इवास्ते पदे पदे अभ्यन्तरवह्निनार्दितः कौटुम्बिका क्रुध्यति वै जनाय चलन क्वचित् कंटकशर्कराङ्घ्रिर् नगारुरुक्षुर्विमनाय वास्ते पदे पदे अभ्यन्तरवनिनार्दितः कौटुम्बिका क्रुध्यति वै जनाय वैष्णवीस् चलन क्वचित् कंटकशर्कराङ्घ्रिर् नगारुरुक्षुर्विमनाय वास्ते पदे पदे अभ्यन्तरवनिनार्दितः कौटुम्बिका क्रुध्यति वै जनाय चलन wandering क्वचित sometimes kantaka sharkara pierced by thorns and small stones angrihi whose feet naga the hills arurukshu one desiring to climb vimana disappointed iva like aste becomes pade pade step by step abhyantara within the abdomen vahnina by the strong fire of appetite arditah being fatigued and aggrieved kautumbikah a person living with his family members krudhyati becomes angry why certainly janaya at the family members. Please also let's repeat the translation. Sometimes the merchant in the forest wants to climb the hills and mountains, but due to insufficient footwear his feet are pricked by small stone fragments and by thorns on the mountain. Being pricked by them, he becomes very aggrieved. Sometimes a person who is very attached to his family becomes overwhelmed with hunger, and due to his miserable condition, he becomes furious with his family members. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki. Yeah. The ambitious, conditioned soul wants to be very happy in this material world with his family. But he is compared to a traveler in the forest who desires to climb a hill full of thorns and small stones. As stated in the previous verse, happiness derived from society, friendship, and love is like a drop of water in the scorching heat of the desert. One may want to become very great and powerful in society, but this is like attempting to climb a hill full of thorns. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur compares one's family to high mountains. Becoming happy in their association is like a hungry man's endeavoring to climb a mountain full of thorns. Almost 99.9% of the population is unhappy in family life, despite all the attempts being made to satisfy the family members. In the Western countries, due to the dissatisfaction of the family members, there is actually no family life. There are many cases of divorce, and out of dissatisfaction, the children leave the protection of their parents. Especially in this age of Kali, family life is being reduced. Everyone is becoming self-centered because that is the law of nature. Even if one has sufficient money to maintain a family, the situation is that no one is happy in family life. Consequently, according to the Varnashram institution, one has to retire from family life in middle age. Panchashurdhvam vanam vrajet. One should voluntarily retire from family life at the age of 50 and go to Vrindavan or a forest. This is recommended by Srila Prahlad Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 5th chapter, verse number 5. तत्साधु मन्ये असुरवर्य देहिनां सदा समुद्विग्नधियाम सद्गृहात् हित्वात्मपातं गृहमन्धकूपं वनं गतो यद्धरिमाश्रयेत. There is no benefit in transferring from one forest to another. One must go to the Vrindavan forest and take shelter of Govinda. That will make one happy. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is therefore constructing a Krishna Balram temple to invite its members as well as outsiders to come and live peacefully in a spiritual atmosphere. That will help one to become elevated to the transcendental world and return home back to Godhead. Another sentence in this verse is very significant. Kautumbika krudhyati vai janaya. When one's mind is disturbed in so many ways, he satisfies himself by becoming angry with his poor wife and children. The wife and children are naturally dependent on the father, but the father, being unable to maintain the family properly, becomes mentally distressed and therefore chastises the family members unnecessarily. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto, 2nd chapter, verse number 9, Achinnadara dvarina Dravina yasyanti girikananam. Being disgusted with family life, one separates from the family by divorce or some other means. Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai, Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai, Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Devi Shri Sudarshan ki jai. If one has to separate, then separate. Why not separate willingly? Systematic separation is better than forced separation. Forced separation cannot make anyone happy, but by mutual consent or by the Vedic arrangement, one must separate from his family affairs at a certain age and fully depend on Krishna. This makes one's life successful. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanmitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। चलन क्वचित् कंटकशर्करांघ्रे नगारुरुक्षुर्विमनाय वास्ते पदे पदे अभ्यन्तरवह्निनार्दितः Kautumbika krudhyati vaijanaya. Sometimes the merchant in the forest wants to climb the hills and the mountains, but due to insufficient footwear, his feet are pricked by small stone fragments and by thorns on the mountain. Being pricked by them, he becomes very aggrieved. Sometimes a person who is very attached to his family becomes overwhelmed with hunger, and due to his miserable condition, he becomes furious with his family members. I beg for blessings from all of the assembled devotees, especially my elders and seniors. There are many. And I'm very inspired by those of you who have dedicated your lives to service of Krishna. So I beg for your blessings as well. It's a very quick context because we don't have too much time. So we are in the section of the Bhagavatam where the history of Maharaj Bharat is being recounted. Maharaj Bharat is the great king after whom this country is known as Bharat. And he was such a great king. But even then, at a certain age, he followed this verse and he left his family without looking back. Left his kingdom, made one of his sons the king, and left his wealth, animals, his power, influence, position, everything in society, and went to the forest, to the Pulha ashram in the foothills of the Himalayas, and began to meditate. There he got distracted, caring for a little deer, and at the moment of his death, he thought of the deer, and he actually got the body of a deer, but with the memory of Maharaj Bharat. So he remembered that I was Maharaj Bharat in my last lifetime and now I am a deer. He could see his body. So he he spent his life, he left his mother at a young age, this little deer, and came again to the Pulha ashram, and this time was very carefully hearing from the sages, and then was reborn as Bharat again in a family of very elevated Brahmanas who were very advanced in spiritual culture and Vedic traditions. And his father wanted to make him into a first class Brahmana, but this Bharat pretended to be very stupid, pretended to be very dull, pretended to be dumb, pretended not to understand anything. So his father would teach him something, he would do something the other way, etc. So his name became then Jada Bharat, he was called. He was not Jada internally, but externally appeared to be Jada, like a fire covered with ashes. And then he had many great adventures. You can write a thriller about Jada Bharat's life. You can write a real thriller. He went through some amazing adventures, and eventually he landed up, he was forced to become the palanquin bearer, the servant of Maharaj Raghugana. And when he made Maharaj Raghugana uncomfortable by his trying to save the ants while carrying the palanquin, Maharaj Raghugana got very irritated with him and said some very nasty words to him. And Jadabharat responded to his nasty words with sarcasm. And Maharaj Raghugana thought that this person is very intelligent, but I don't understand what he's saying. So he became very humble, jumped out of his palanquin and said that you seem to be a great soul. Can you explain to me? Then Jadabharat explained to him some things in the previous chapter. And Raghugana said, bouncer. Nothing went inside. Everything went over his head. Could not understand anything that Jadabharat had instructed him. So he became even more humble. And because of his humility, Jadabharat said that, okay, this person is materially attached, so I need to liberate him from his material attachment. And so he figuratively started to explain the nature of the material world. So it's a figurative explanation. Each of these verses is very picturesque. You can imagine each of these verses. You can write an essay about them. You can elaborate each point. It's very beautiful. So in this, each verse is very, very deep. So we are not going to discuss the previous verses that were covered in the last 1 week. We're just going to talk about this particular verse. So what Maharaj Jadabharat is trying to explain to Raghugan is, my dear Maharaj Raghugan, material life is actually very nasty, even though it appears to be pleasant. That's what he's trying to explain to him. Very nasty, very, very nasty, full of thorns and full of all kinds of interesting things. There's an old Chinese saying, right? May you live in interesting times. It's a curse actually. It appears like a blessing, but it's a curse. May you live in interesting. When a sage says, may you live in interesting times, it's actually a curse from the sage. So, because most changes are not pleasant. Okay. So here he's talking about the living entity, us, all of us, not just Maharaj Raghugan. Maharaj Raghugan happens to be a student, but it's directed to us. We are wandering around in this material world. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a famous verse, Brahmande Brahmite Kauno Bhagyavanji. But not everyone, Kauno Bhagyavanji. Very Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kashchitati Siddhaye, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So 1 out of thousands, many thousands of thousands, you can say 1 out of millions becomes interested in spiritual life. And among those, one can reach perfection and actually know Sri Radha Madan Mohan. It's very difficult. We can see them, but we cannot see them either. Because they are performing their pastimes right now. But to a new person, it looks like they're statues. That's the secret. Brahmande Brahmite Kauno Bhagyavan Jiv. Now, Maharaj Raghugan has come to this point. Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Bij. So he's about to get Bhakti Lata Bij from his Guru. So he has met his Guru and he has met his superior. He has met his spiritual master. His superior, Jadabharat is superior to Maharaj Raghugan in every respect. Raghugan is a king. Bharat was the king of the whole planet. Raghugan was the king of Saurashtra, like a minor king. And this person was the king, emperor of the whole planet. Plus, he's very, very heavy in spiritual knowledge. Maharaj Bharat was very, very advanced even before he became a deer. And in his deer life, he got further advancement. And even now, he was like very highly advanced, like a absolutely pure-hearted soul. So, he's a guru and he's being heavy. Guru means, guru means heavy. Guru doesn't mean making jokes and making us laugh, though sometimes they may choose to do that. It means being very heavy and liberating us from our ignorance. That's the Guru's first job. The Guru's first job is to get the ignorance out of our heart. We sang Srila Prabhupada's Guru Aarti, Guru Vandana just now, and we sang this. By him, ignorance is dispelled. So his job is to be very strict, very merciful, and very honest. Guru has to be very honest, just like a good doctor. You go to a doctor and you have some symptoms, and if the doctor detects that you actually have some very serious disease, but the doctor does not tell you and prescribe some ointment, right? Some little ointment to apply here, and meanwhile it could be a cancerous tumor. And that's not a very good doctor. You may think that he's a very good doctor because he speaks pleasantly and smiles to you and give you medicine that doesn't pain. But the good doctor is a person who says, I'm scheduling a surgery for you, and takes out his scalpel and cuts out that cancerous tumor, right? You might say, okay, this person is using a knife on me. He's very strict, he's very cruel, but actually that's a good doctor, right? So that's a guru. Guru means good doctor. So in the material world, people are attracted to people who speak very pleasingly, very sweetly, but they're actually cheating us. So guru is somebody who speaks the truth, like Prabhupada and his followers. They speak the truth, they speak straight. So he removes the poison. Removing ignorance means, ignorance is tamasa, and tamas means poison. He removes the poison from the heart. We are full of poison, right? We have the fever, by which Krishna Nam, Harinam Sankirtan, Guna Leela, Swarup, all of these things of Krishna, his Parshad, all of these appear to be bitter. At Bhagavatam class, you can see, just look around yourself just now and see how many people are actually interested in the Bhagavatam class. You'll see that it's a minority even of those who have come to the temple. Right? It's clear, it's well known, well understood. Because that poison is there in the heart. Right? So, Guru removes that. Krishna did the same thing in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Ashochan anvashochastam pradnyavadamsa bhashase gatasuna gatasumsha nanushochante pandita. That means you are a pandita, you are a fool. So, Krishna, without saying so, said to Arjuna when he became his disciple, when he says, Karpanya doshopata Subhava Prichami Tam Dharma Sammuda Cheta, when he Shishyasteham Shadimam Tam Prapannam, when he said that, he says, okay, you are my Shishya, then you are a fool. Number one thing. And he said, you are a fool. So, my spiritual master says often that when a devotee comes to Krishna consciousness, his first realization should be that he has no realization. Then he can make some progress. He told me that repeatedly. He tells all his students that. Sankarshan Prabhu, he tells, your first realization, my dear so-and-so, is that you have no realization. And then when you come to that point, that you actually understand that you have no realization, then it's open. Vaisheshika Prabhu says that the 4 words that block any understanding or any knowledge is, I already know this. What this person is speaking about, 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, I am relishing the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, I already know this. The moment we say that, it's closed. The door is closed and we cannot understand anything further. Okay, so here the next job of the guru is not just to remove the poison, because if our mind is like a ditch, like an empty, like a vessel like this, and there's water all around, all kinds of waters. So if you empty out the water, like if you try in the rain, when you try to empty out the water from a ditch, the water will keep coming back. You cannot empty it. If somebody tells you, I'm going to teach you how to meditate, okay, and tells you, okay, meditate on anything except for a pink elephant. They tell you this, meditate on anything in the world except for a pink elephant. And the only thing you can meditate about is a pink elephant. Right? Only the pink elephant will come in your heart. Because that's how the mind is. Whatever you tell it not to do is the thing that it will focus on. Like a small child. Don't do this. Child is going there. Don't do this. Like continuously, repeatedly. So, the guru not only removes the ignorance, but he also puts in the amrita. He puts in the nectar in the heart so that the garbage cannot come back in. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj, he's going to say, we'll come to that. He says, Pravishta karna randhrena swanam bhava saroram dunoti shamalam Krishna sarilasyata sharat. So the guru puts in Krishna Katha, and that Krishna Katha, personally who is Krishna himself, Krishna Katha is non-different from Krishna himself, he then cleans out the heart and stays in the heart on the lotus of the devotee's relationship. First of all, the lotus might be pointed. You have seen the lotus flowers? They're pointed like this, closed. Right? You have to open the lotus, or unless it is naturally opened up with the sun and so on. You open the lotus and then Krishna can sit on that. Right? You can't sit on a point. Right? You have to open the lotus and give him a place to sit. So Swanam Bhava Sarorham Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna Salilasyata Asharat. That's like autumn rainfall. So that's what he is doing. There is a great book by Srila Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj about his life and his interactions with Srila Prabhupada. It's called When Good Fortune Arises. What a beautiful title of the book. Reading the book is even more nectarian, but the title itself is When Good Fortune Arises. So when we meet our Guru, when we realize that I have met my Guru now, that is the good fortune, when good fortune arises. From that point onwards, we are going to become one of those. Manushyanam Savashreshu Kaschideta Siddhaye. From that point onwards, okay? So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, in the previous verse also, he mentioned that Vidyapati was a great poet in our line. Not quite in the same disciplic succession, but yes, we respect him because our acharyas love his poetry. He says, Tatala Saikate Varibindu Sama Sutamita Ramani Samaje. So he says, like in a desert, Srila Prabhupada says in one of the classes, he says, okay, you're in a desert and you're very thirsty. And somebody says, you're thirsty? All right, here's some water. One drop of water on your tongue. What's that going to do? You're in the desert, dying of thirst. You're completely dehydrated and somebody puts in one drop of water. So Srila Prabhupada said, how much water is required in the desert to make it into a productive field? The whole ocean you have to bring and pour into the desert. That's not how much water you require. But all this Suttamita Ramani Samaje, all this society, family, friendship and love only gives you one tiny little drop, which is why everybody is constantly dissatisfied. Vaisheshika Prabhu says, everybody is running out with their tongues out like a dog, looking for some taste, some rasa in the world. But there is none. Running everywhere. No rasa in the world. Because we are looking in the wrong place. Krishna has already declared that this dukkhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramamgata. This is dukkhalayam, and dukkhalayam we are trying to make into some sukha. Where is it going to come from? In the pustakalaya, you go in the library and you say, bhojan do, right now. In a bhojalaya, you go and say, I need medical treatment. In similar ways, wherever there's bhandara of prasad, you can get as much food as you want, no problem. But if you go to Dukkhala and say, give me some sukha, where is it going to come from? Krishna has already declared it. So, there is sukha, but the sukha is urdhvamulam adha shakham. It's not in the way we are perceiving it as. In the material world, everything is a perverted reflection of reality. Reality is Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Gaurnitha, Shri Jagannath Balle, Subhadra Devi, Srila Prabhupada. That is reality. But we are thinking that the reality is outside. Sometimes people ask me like this, they say, oh Prabhuji, are you a full-time devotee? They say, I say, what do you mean? Can you be a part-time devotee? Then they say, well, I mean, are you like, and I say, how can you be a part-time devotee? It's not possible. Either you're a devotee or you're not. And you have different services. Sometimes you have to go and do some services outside, support the Krishna consciousness movement, right? Collect people from outside, build them, bring them to the temple. How are you going to collect them? You have to say that you are so and so with such and such a position, then they will be attracted to you. And they will hear you, and eventually you are going to pour some Krishna Katha into their hearts eventually, right? So, like this, in this material world, everyone is trying to be number one, right? Have you tried to drive? Indian roads are the perfect example of the material world. Everybody is like, peep in the front, peep in the front, peep in the front. Hey, ruko bhai. Yesterday I was distributing books at PNT Colony, Chaurasta in Dilsukh Nagar. There was a massive traffic jam. One car is from here, one car is from here, auto in the middle, and for 10 minutes, nobody was moving. Everybody was only hooting their horns. Beep, bap, beep, bap. Finally, one person came out from one of the stores. He was fed up of hearing the noise. I said, you stop, you go, you stop. And finally cleared up the traffic jam. Somebody had put. So, this is the material world. Everybody wants to be aham purvam. But not aham purvam to go to Krishna, aham purvam in the material world. Gopas are also aham purvam. But they are running to Krishna and we are running in the material world. Aham purvam. The tongues out, hanging out. This useless place. In the analogy given is like our family and our society is like high mountains. Why is it high mountains? Because everybody is trying to dominate the other person and trying to climb over them. They are like, okay, the father is trying to dominate the family, the mother is trying to dominate the family, the kid, the 2-year-old child also. No. Also trying to dominate the family, right? No, everybody is trying to climb over everybody else. But during the climbing, everybody has thorns. poking out everywhere. You trying to climb a family member, you will get poked. Because they will say something, they will do something, they will be nasty, right? And then you are like, oh, I'm trying to climb this mountain, but my feet are hurt, right? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is giving another example also, like hungry man trying to climb a mountain. भूख लगी है और marathon दौड़ने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, it's not possible, right? You're going to fall down and you're going to drop. That's what's happening in the material world. Okay, another important thing, all the frictions, the quarrels, the klesha that happens in relationships is due to this. Everybody is trying to climb over. Nobody is taking a humble position. Nobody is amanina, manadena. Everybody is samanina, manadena to me, like that. Like everybody is, like all relationships. So people come with problems. Two devotees have problems and they come. And the answer is always the same. Prabhu's, on both sides, there is lack of amanina, manadena. Now let's explore where it's coming from this side, where it's coming from this side. And if the two devotees agree that there was amanina, manadena was absent, then the relationship becomes patched up. Otherwise, they will remain enemies forever. When the two people come together and have a fight like that. So, another example that Srila Prabhupada is giving, we're running out of time here, is that a hungry man is unhappy. A hungry person, a person who is hungry, is unhappy. So, whenever, when the father comes home from work, right, has a full day of work, and assuming that the mother has not also had a similar day, though it's very similar that both come home irritated and angry, both of them are hungry, nobody's there to cook. Both of them have just come from outside after fighting traffic and all this. And suppose the child wants to approach the father. The mother says, you wait. First I will serve him his dinner and then you can go. Otherwise he's going to yell at you. You might even get hit, because he's hungry. There's a word in English for this, when a person is hungry and acts in an angry way, it's called hangry. Hungry, behaving angry, the word is called hangry. Even children go through that. The mother knows this fellow is acting up, just feed that fellow something and then he'll be normal again. Right? So this happens. And what happens is the topmost person, there's a hierarchy in every family. Whatever the hierarchy might be, sometimes the mother is on top, sometimes the father is on top, sometimes the grandfather is on top, whatever the hierarchy might be in every family. There's a hierarchy. So he comes and he yells at the next person in line. He might yell at the mother, he might yell at the grandmother, somebody. Now that angst is being carried by the next person in line. And that thing is passed on to the next person in line. That person is passed on to the next person in line. The eldest sister will kick will hit the youngest brother or something, or say something to him, or take away something from him, or do something like that. Right? And then the little fellow has nothing to do. He will go outside and kick the dog. Because he cannot do anything to anybody up the chain. The same thing happens in temples also. The temple president might get very angry. He yells at somebody. That person comes and yells at somebody else. That person comes and yells at somebody else. And finally, the poor new bhakta who is walking in the door, hey, why are you leaving your shoes here? He doesn't know. He's coming for the first time. Right? He gets yelled at. So when we see a devotee, somebody getting yelled at, we should know that it started somewhere else. The chain started. You trace the chain. कहाँ से start हो गया? पहले temple president को प्रसाद खिलाओ. Right? Something like that. I'm not saying that temple presidents are like that. In fact, they're very, very tolerant. But I'm just giving you an example that this can happen, especially, So, what Srila Prabhupada talked about in the Western countries, he wrote this in the 1970s when Krishna Balram Mandir was being constructed in Vrindavan. 1974 it was opened. So in 1971, 1972, he was writing these purports. 1970, around that time, he was writing these purports. But now that disease has come from the Western countries to India also, there is no family life. Nobody eats together. A father has one schedule, mother has one schedule, child has one schedule. Somebody has a Zoom call at 10 p.m. because they're working in a software company, right? Not with the children, right? He's busy preparing for the meeting from 8 p.m. onwards, wondering what he's going to say to his clients, right? The mother has a call on another channel. 2 Zoom calls are happening in 2 separate meetings. The children are playing video games on the TV. There is no family life. Even in India, divorce rate is becoming higher and higher by the day. Everybody, like the boy is taught that you are a prince, Rajkumar. The girl is taught that you are a princess, Rajkumari. The Rajkumar meets the Rajkumari, they get married. Until the wedding is happening, everything is fine because everybody is serving them. The wedding goes, the guests go away. And now Rajkumar expects the Rajkumari to serve him. The Rajkumari expects the Rajkumar to serve him. conflict. This is the material world. It's a very nasty place. Until the wedding is there, everybody is happy, smiles, big pictures. And then when the marriage starts, things break apart in family life, right? Big fights. Okay, so Prabhupada is recommending, not just that he is recommending, but he's recommending that at a certain point, no matter how one's family life has been good or not good, one should actually focus on being a Vanaprastha. Now, what does it mean to be a Vanaprastha? We cannot go to the forest. We are not trained. Right? Today, in today's day and age, we cannot survive in the forest for 2 days. Right? We'll be dead. A snake will bite us. Something will happen. So, Srila Prabhupada is actually advising us to take shelter of these temples. More and more Iskcon temples are coming up around the world. It's for people to take shelter of. Like in the early part of life, we can experience brahmachari life. If possible, remain brahmachari. If not, get married, do whatever you have to do for society, contribute to society, and then come back. Don't stay out there forever. Because otherwise, you become a frustrated, angry old person. Nobody wants that. Okay? So, there's this beautiful verse that Prahlad Maharaj has given that Srila Prabhupada is. Look at the word by word meanings. Prahlad Maharaj is instructing his father. You can imagine the furious his father gets. Because Murkhaya Upadeshaya Prakopaya na Shantaye. So the fool only gets angry when you give him good advice. But others can take the good advice. So he's speaking to Asurya Varya Dehinam. He's the king of the demons. Now in the Bhagavatam it is mentioned that anybody who is in the mode of passion, fruitive activities, is actually a demon. So all of us in fruitive life, we're all demons. We're interacting with demons. We ourselves are demons. When we go step outside this Vaishnava association, when we are having these interactions, because we are interested in fruitive things, we are actually demons. So Asurya Varya Dehinam, we may not be Varya, but we are definitely Asurya Dehinam. So it applies to us, this instruction. Sada Samudvigna Dhyam. Our consciousness is always stressed out. Yesterday I was distributing books and he says, Sir, time ledu. I cannot read. Exams unai. He's like, okay, but how many hours in a day do you study, sir, for your competitive exam? He said, 10 hours a day. I said, at 10 hours a day, you're not going to make it. You have to study at least 14 to make it in that exam. But still, even if you study 14, you can spend 5 minutes reading this book. Can you? He finally took it. Okay, he gave a donation. He took the book. But that's Sada Samudvigna Dhyam. We are all Samudvigna, like always Udvigna. Always agitated. We have to see ourselves chanting in the morning and then we realize how much agitated we are in Brahma Muhurta, leave alone the rest of the day. Right? So, Asat Grahat. This place is Asat. It's impermanent. It's temporary. It's not going to last. No family, no empire, no kingdom has ever lasted forever. So, there's no point trying to hold on to all of these things. They just slip through our hands. Right? Everything is just slipping through our hands. Every moment, everything, the money, our youth, our looks, our strength, all of our memory, everything is actually slipping through our hands. And the only thing left will be Krishna, if we have Krishna. Hitva Atma Patam. We are living in a situation, whether we are at home or not at home or in some hostel or something. Atma Patam means we are taking the Atma, who is very, very Amayvamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, and putting it to the level of a very, very low class living entity. Atma Patam. That's why we are living in Asat Grihat. We are making it into Atma Patam. Griham Andhakupam. It's a blind well. There is no escape from it. Andhakupam. When you are young, you are struggling. When you are raising children, you are struggling. When you are old, you are struggling. When there is no struggle. When there is no struggle in material life. When there is no struggle, you tell me. Right? Griham Andhakupam. It's a blind well. Once you fall into a blind well, there's no way out. Somebody has to come and take you out, and that's what this verse is about. Rahugana is being lifted out of the well by the mercy of Jada Bharat. Okay? Vanam gato yat harimashrayeta. Again, there's a book coming out by His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj. It's a very important read for anybody who is in family life. It's called the Vanaprastha Adventure. Brahmachari should also read it because then you can help the grahasthas properly. He has given from the Shastra he has quoted the importance of not remaining in this materialistic way of life forever. And he has practically stated what are the obstacles. The obstacles to Vanaprastha is what he is tackling right now. And every little while he releases one chapter of the book by email to those who are signed up to his mailing list. So you can read one chapter at a time. And you can ask him questions. give him some feedback. Maybe there's a spelling mistake somewhere. Jayadvaita Maharaj does not make spelling mistakes, but if there is something like that, you can convey that. And by our feedback, he knows what he can incorporate into the book before it gets printed and published. Because once it's published, it's very hard to change a book, right? It's in the stores already. It's difficult. So he's doing that. So anybody who wants to do that, you can write to me. You can get my website. I will point you to Jayadvaita Maharaj's website, and you can get that book. Most of you will end up in family life. Some of you may follow in his footsteps of Bhagavat Seva Prabhu here. But most of us are going to end up there. So better to read that book when we are still young and not when we are thinking about Vanaprastha, etc. Okay. So I will stop here. So my website is dasadas.com, dasadas.com, and you're welcome to reach out, and I will point you to those resources. Okay. So if there's any questions and answers, I've already run out of time according to the notice here. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Srimad Bhagavatam class conclusion time is 9 a.m. Your servant, general manager. Everybody needs to keep the thing on. But I'm hoping that they will be a little bit lenient to a guest. So a few minutes. If there's anything, we can take it. Otherwise, we can end the class. He's still writing the book. I don't know the published schedule. It will come out. He has already written a Kirtan standards book to protect Kirtan in Iskcon, which is going all over the place. Singing unauthorized things, etc. is happening. So Srila Prabhupada's Kirtan standards, it's already published, available now. So it's available from the BBT. So I know that it was not available in our temple, but I found it elsewhere. I found it in the Pune temple, Srila Prabhupada's Kirtan standards. But if the temple wants it, they can get the book easily. Because it's a BBT book. It's a BBT book. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. Okay, I can repeat the question.
Other point is that does spirituality has anything to do with ashram? Because we see that none of the ashram is favorable, none of the ashram is unfavorable. Because all the ashrams are equally eligible for spiritual advancement.
So first of all, Prahlad Maharaj is a Mahajan. Prahlado Janako Bhishmo. He's one of the Mahajans, the 12 Mahajans that are mentioned in the Bhagavatam. Swayambhur Narada Shambhu Kumaro Kapilo Manu Prahlada Janako Bhishmo Balir Vayyasakir Vayam. So anything and everything that Prahlad Maharaj says and does is a personal example for us. So our attitude should be not whether or not Prahlad Maharaj is right, but how he is right. That should be our attitude. So we can understand how he is right by he's not criticizing the Grihastha ashram. He's saying he's criticizing Grihamedhi. There is a difference between Grihastha and Grihamedhi. So what you mentioned, your second question is linked to your first question also. A Grihamedhi is the person that Prahlad Maharaj is criticizing then. Hitvatma ghatam grihamandakupam. A home in which Krishna is a center, like we have so many Grihastha couples, Grihastha families, etc. You may be one of them too, where Krishna is a center. So that is not criticized by anyone. Grihe thako, vane thako, sada hari bole dako. So that's Bhaktivinoda Thakur giving us, whether you're in the home, or whether you're in the one, Vanaprastha, just chant the names of Hari and you'll be fine. So if your home is organized not around the television, but around Krishna's altar and around the Srimad Bhagavatam, if your home is organized like that. By the way, my spiritual master told me to throw out my television in 2008. He said, you now have a two-eyed guru, you don't need that one-eyed guru anymore. He said, television is our guru, right? We take everything from the television. So in 2008, he told me. In 2009, I was convinced enough to throw it out. We put it out on the street, somebody took it, and we were free of it. And people said, how come you live your life without television? And I say, well, there is no time to watch television. Because once you get into the Krishna conscious lifestyle, once your home revolves around Krishna and the offerings and the arti and all this, you're constantly running. All the family members are constantly running this way, that way, this way, that way, this way, that way. But they're running to Krishna, not away from Krishna. So if we organize our life in a way that Srila Prabhupada has recommended, if we are far away from the temple, then make our home into a temple. If we are close to the temple, then our home should just be a bedroom where we go at night, if we need to, like that, because grihasthas cannot live in the ashram. Therefore, grihasthas need an ashram, so we can go there. So our home should be made into an ashram. So first of all, Prahlad Maharaj became a grihastha. He did not become a grihamedhi. That's important to know that. So from his life in the Bhagavatam, you can see that he was completely Krishna conscious. Even when he kind of apparently went off track, he was brought back. Prahlad Maharaj never slipped. Dhruva Maharaj slightly went off track, which is why Dhruva Maharaj is not mentioned in the list of Mahajans, even though he's living in the spiritual world. And that's the first one. What was your second question, Prabhu?
Second question was that
ashram is related to spirituality? No, it's not. You can become pure devotee in any ashram. However, there are many distractions in Grihastha life. We have to admit that. We are constantly shaking hands. Like, there's a saying that you shake hands with this person, after that you count your fingers. Whether you have all of your fingers still intact, or in the handshake, one of the fingers has been taken away. So we shake hands with such people when we are in the outside world, We shake hands with people who are sharks every day, So they might bite off one finger. So we are in a very dangerous situation. We might get attracted by them because they are living a very materialistic life, not with one television, but with one television in every room. Even in their bed, they come into bed and they have a big television in front of their bed. In the living room there's a TV, there's a kitchen, there's a TV, in the bathroom there's a TV, everywhere there's a TV. So these people are very dangerous people because they are the Grihavanda Kupam that is mentioned. So out of humility, a devotee might call himself Asura Dehinam. But really this is directed towards the materialistic persons. Hiranyakashipu was the topmost atheist. He wanted to make himself as God. We know all the story. Right? So it was directed to him. But a devotee thinks that there is a big chunk of me which is still like that. Which is why we are not pure devotees yet. A pure devotee would see the pastimes of Radha Madan Mohan right now. Because the Acharyas, the Shad Goswamis, Radha Krishna, Leela, they were doing they were making them manifest, right, through their books. Does that help, Prabhu? Thank you very much. We are not criticizing householder life. We have one more? No? Done? Okay, yesterday was Ekadashi, so people must be hungry also. If there are no more questions, we can break. And if you have, I will be here for some more time. But I am leaving today. I am going back to Toronto. Srimad Bhagavat Puran ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Devi Sudarshan ki, Shri Gauritai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Harinam Mahamantra ki. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jaya.